Hello, class. Welcome. Sorry I'm not here today. Thank you so much for your patience. You should be just wrapping up your bell work, and before you get into your homework, which will be in your packets, I just kind of want to go over the work for the week. For today's work, we're going to start with homework assignment number one. You're going to read in your textbooks the story of how the world began. Now, this is a story that was given to us by the Iroquois Nation. Um, that doesn't have an author to it. Iroquois used to pass down stories verbally over many years. There would be one person or an appointed person called a story keeper or a storyteller, and they would pass down the tradition or the story in a tradition, so that way they would have the story after many generations. But a European person came. He listened to the story and he wrote it down, and that's how we have the story today. We're actually very lucky to have it because there's a lot of native tribes that don't like to share their stories with us Westerners, and they don't like their stories to be written down. So we're actually very lucky that we have this piece of mythology. Now, one of the things that you need to know when you're reading this is the difference between these two words. And these are going to be important words for you to learn. The difference between theme and motif. Okay, a theme is a universal idea. Okay, so there are, let's say you read a story, and let's pick a Disney story that we all know. Let's say the story of um, Aladdin. Okay, now Aladdin, a major theme of the story of Aladdin is truth. Aladdin lies a lot, and he goes back and forth between being honest in who he is, and so truth is a big deal inside that movie. Now you can see truth is a universal theme. It's in many stories. Okay, but let's say a motif of Aladdin would be something specific, something that's actually in the story that actually happens, or something that's in the story. So, as an example, riches is a motif of Aladdin. You can see there was like a cursed treasure in the beginning of it, and when they asked for wishes, some people want wealth. Aladdin wants to pretend like he's rich. So riches are a big motif in Aladdin. Now you got to think, riches are a specific thing. They're not a universal idea like truth or love or evil or darkness or um, another theme in Aladdin would be love, because there's a lot of love between Aladdin and Genie and Aladdin and Jasmine. So that's definitely there inside the story of Aladdin. But one of the, even though that is an idea that's in there, it's not a specific, explicit. So let's say the term a diamond in the rough, where things are not what they seem on the outside, that on the inside there's something much more valuable. And so you can see that kind of goes with the motif of riches, right? So riches are used. That phrase "a diamond in the rough" is used quite a lot. um, so you could see that, like, let's say classism, where he's referred to as a street rat, or royalty. So you have like these classes, that could be another motif in that story. So a motif is a very specific idea that is prevalent within a story, whereas themes are sort of more universal, but they're also present in the story. And they're kind of like a big idea, whereas a motif is like a very specific thing that happens. Okay, when you are reading today's story, How the World Began, it is a mythology, and it is an origin story and a creation story. Okay? Now, um, there are a lot of cultures with origin stories and creation stories. And there's going to be several motifs that run through this story. In the book, it calls it an archetype. Okay, but for our purposes, we'll just say motif. I'm wondering, and I'm hoping that after you guys read this story, you will see several motifs that are sort of paralleled throughout other creation narratives as well. So, homework assignment one, read pages 10 through 18 and answer all the questions in complete sentences on page 18. Homework number 2. If you finish homework number 1, get started on this. Get your Bible, open it up to Genesis chapter 1 through 4, and I want you to discuss 3 major parallels between the biblical story of creation and the story how the world began from your textbook. You're going to find 3 major parallels, and I got to tell you, these are going to be motifs. Homework number 3. This will probably happen at home. Okay. You're going to use whatever preferred AI method that you have, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever. Okay. And I want you to start searching and researching other creation narrative mythologies. So, Greek mythology, Chinese mythology, Norse mythology, perhaps Far Eastern mythology like Buddhist or Indian. And I want you to get the stories from those mythologies and see if there's anything interesting you can discover in that. There might be some motifs in those mythologies that are also present in how the world began and in Genesis 1 through 4. My question is, why does this happen? How are all of these cultures that are so far away from each other, they tend to use the same ideas that a lot of other creation narratives use. I'll give you an example. My friends who are familiar with Greek mythology are familiar with the story of Pandora's box, where all of the wickedness in the world comes through this box because it was given as a gift from the gods, a divine gift to Pandora. She was told never to open the box, but her curiosity got the best of her, and so when she opened the box, all of the evil things in the world came out of it. Now, can you think of another creation narrative in which all wickedness comes through a single woman? Well, even though I think it's twisting it a little bit, you can kind of see the parallel between Pandora and Eve. I wonder if you guys are going to see this in other creation narratives as well. Okay, so that's what you got to do for homework number 3. I want you to look up other creation narrative mythologies, and I want you to do some research and see if you can find any other major parallels in those. Okay, you are going to create a visual presentation. Okay, a couple of slides, an introduction, a couple of slides, and you're going to present for about 3 to 5 minutes on what other mythology you explored and what were some of the key motifs that you also found in Genesis. Then I want you to not only explain those motifs and why they're parallels, I want you to explain, why do you think this happened? Why do you think there are some other stories out there that kind of match our creation narrative? Does that make our biblical story less real? And then you have to answer some questions from me. Okay, all of these things will be due by the end of this week, except for the presentation. The presentation you will give in class Monday with me. Okay, my friends, I hope you are enjoying the class so far, and I hope you enjoy digging into this topic. If you have any questions, please email me. I will also be on campus in between these days. You can come and find me any day after school for tutoring. And always you can email me or send me a message in whatever way, and I will try to get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you so much. Please behave. Bye.